who makes the best luxury off-road SUV? Let's find out in today's video by comparing the G-Wagon to the Lexus LX, aka the 300 series Land Cruiser. I'll include a link to the Mercedes of Salt Lake's website in the description down below. They're providing us with this G-Wagon. This one is available for sale if you're interested. They also have several others as well. As for Dylan, if you have any questions, also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Powering the Lexus is a 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 paired to a 10-speed and a hybrid. It puts out 457 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque. I've been averaging close to 17 miles per gallon so far, not too bad. The G63 is powered by a twin turbo 4 liter V8 that goes through a 9-speed. It produces 577 horsepower, 627 pound-feet of torque. I would have rather have had a G550 for this comparison because they're kind of more comparable, but either way, this has got a cool engine. Fuel economy, by the way, mid-teens. We are closing in on 500,000 subscribers. I'd really appreciate it if you'd help out with that. As the owner of the Lexus, when it comes to styling, I don't think there's really a comparison. Now, yes, I'm not a huge fan of the brush guard being on the lower section. I think it looks a lot better with the G550 being over the headlights. But that aside, the giant waterfall grille on the Lexus, it just, yeah, it doesn't do it for me. I don't know what they were thinking. Lexus/Toyota could have had a real G-Wagon competitor, not just from an equipment standpoint, but also from a style standpoint. And they decided to keep up with this. Now I've got aftermarket tires and wheels on the Lexus, but the stock tires are a little bit under 33 inches. From my understanding, you can also fit 33-inch tall tires on the G-Wagon, but this one's got the G63 package, so you've got the giant AMG wheels with giant brake rotors. So the smallest wheel you can go is a 20 versus that Lexus actually has 17-inch wheels. Those exhaust tips, practical for off-roading? No. Cool factor? Very high. And then taking a look at the side profile of the G-Wagon, again, very boxy with the design. I mean, this is what you think of when you think of an off-roader. Sorry about the lighting with this shot, but the Lexus, on the other hand, is kind of more traditional SUV, or not traditional SUV, but more like traditional crossover styling, where it's more rounded off. I mean, it kind of looks like a giant Highlander in a way. Now, the G-Wagon actually has a manual open for the back, which I actually respect quite a bit. Anyways, we've got a cargo cover here in the back, and we have a ton of vertical space. The G-Wagon is shorter than the Lexus by a decent amount, but the vertical space makes up for that. I mean, if you look at the cargo area here in the Lexus with the higher load floor and the lower roof line, even though the space is a little bit deeper, it's just about the same size overall. And yeah, you got a power hatch, which is fancy, but not as cool as a spare tire on the back and a cool kind of shutting sound. Anyways, the back end of the Lexus, again, kind of more of a crossover type style versus the G-Wagon is just boxy. It looks different. Now in the back of the G-Wagon, I've got actually pretty good legroom here. We have some vents in the center, got our own climate zone. I do like the perforated trim in the side of the seats. And then we have tons of headroom with that boxy design. There's also really nice trim on the door panel, heated seats here in the back too. Now the Lexus, on the other hand, the floor is higher compared to the seats, so my legs get pushed up, so it actually doesn't feel any more spacious. It feels less spacious in a way and less comfortable. But we do have our own climate zone in the back, heated, ventilated seats here in the back. And then you've got nice perforated trim. Not quite as fancy, but still fancy enough. And then look at the door panel. I do think the door panel is actually a little bit nicer than the Lexus with some of the materials. And then headroom, yeah, you don't have as much headroom because of the more crossover type design. And let's take a look at the front of the G-Wagon. You got the controls there at the top of the door panel, which is kind of cool. And then we do have heated ventilated seats here up front. You got memory seats, power adjustments for the seats too. And yeah, these are nice with the bolstering and everything, really nice material use. They're comfortable as well. And then look at the steering wheel, very stylized. You got the drive mode select on the steering wheel, creates a little bit of feeder. Paddle shifters there in the back as well. You can adjust things like the exhaust, and you can change what that actually adjusts right there. And then you can see full digital gauge cluster. This also has a 360 camera system, good resolution. And this has the new G-Wagon infotainment system that's a touchscreen, which is great. This is also going to come with massaging seats as well. This does have 3 locking differentials. You got a low range manual mode. There's an off-road cockpit, which is basically like an off-road page. Some climate controls just below that whole section there, and then we've got some cup holders here. They've got heated and cooled function, lots of carbon fiber in the center. Physical buttons for different items like your drive mode select. This is for the infotainment system if you don't want to use the touchscreen. Nice little center console. I like the trim on the top. Got a grab handle there on the dash, and then you've got a nice headliner, and this does have a sunroof as well. And The Lexus Land Cruiser. Memory seats there on the door panel. We also have blind spotting with the mirrors, just like the G-Wagon. And then you got some controls like the power folding mirror controls on the door panel, but not as much as the G-Wagon. You have like normal seat controls on the side of the seat itself. Speaking of the seats, these are a bit wider than the G-Wagon seats, so that is something that's a bit of a benefit with them. The steering wheel is not nearly as stylized. I mean, it's got practical controls on it, but it doesn't have all the fun gadgets and gizmos that the G-Wagon AMG steering wheel has. But you do still get a digital gauge cluster. This also has a 360 camera system, and both of these are touchscreens. This obviously isn't as nicely integrated as what the G-Wagon has with this kind of unit across the dash. This is literally kind of plopped on from a design perspective. But like the G-Wagon, it's also triple locked, so diff locks front and rear. You also have your center that is over here, and it has Toyota's famous multi-terrain select crawl control and everything. Now the center console on this is a little bit fancier. It's got a cool box. You also have a camera rear view mirror. You've got a soft headliner. It's not like the Alcantara. And then you do have a sunroof here with the Lexus too. That G63 stickers for just over $200,000 as equipped, but the G550 that is more comparable to the Lexus when it comes to power and everything starts at about $150,000 before options. Most of them are optioned out to about $160,000. The Lexus, on the other hand, doesn't really have a whole lot you can add to it. It technically starts at like $113,000, $114,000. You can kind of get a seat delete that I have in mine that makes it a little bit less expensive. But anyways, these are usually going to sit around $117,000, $118,000. And it goes to show you, if Toyota spent a little bit more time in styling, they could charge a lot more money for their product. It's also badging, right? People are willing to pay more for a Mercedes than a Lexus. But anyways, let's drive them. This week's giveaway makes my Jeep look lame because it is a supercharged Rubicon 392 that is fully decked out, producing 650 horsepower. Now, not only can you win this Rubicon 392, but part of the giveaway is also $26,000 in cash to help pay for the taxes. And not only that, your donations go towards helping children's and veterans charities. So use code BHC or click the link in the description down below or in the pinned comment. Any donation, $25 or more, will give you 4x bonus entries. Starting off in the G-Wagon first, LX second. I'm surprised that there wasn't a G550. Like, the thing that's this is surprised me a massive amount. It has been easier for me to get a hold of a G63 to review than a G550. I thought it would be the opposite because, you know, everyone wants the V8, everyone wants the 63. But the 550s are selling out just as quickly, just as easily. Actually quicker than the 63s, it seems like now. Because there's almost always a 63 available, if there is a G-Wagon available at all. It's always going to be a 63, not a 550. But anyways, I love the feel of a G. You guys know I'm a huge G-Wagon fan. It's such a cool car. Now, the G-Wagon is more simplistic than the Lexus in certain areas. Suspension's a good example. This does have adjustable shocks, but at the end of the day, it is independent up front, coil sprung in the rear, solid rear, coil sprung front and rear, but independent front, solid in the rear, and not adjustable at all, not height adjustable or anything like that. So you combine that with the body and frame construction, and this does drive a bit like a truck. It's really well dampened, but the other thing they do with the AMG is they basically firm up the whole suspension for better handling, and in doing that, it does make it feel a bit more truck-like in certain ways. Like, I actually think the G550 is more comfortable than the 63, and that's another reason why I wanted a G550 for this comparison. But yeah, we're in the comfort mode. I mean, this is a luxury car, right? You got these nice massaging seats, they're comfortable. The bolsters are a bit tight. It's like Mercedes is telling you to lose some weight, you know. It's not that bad, but it's noticeable with how these seats are a little bit more narrow. Now the power delivery, perfection, absolute perfection. You've got so much torque, and you have a V8. That's the one thing that, like, I mean, we'll see how the Lexus performs back to back. I will be shocked if it can hold a candle to this engine, because you just can't beat a V8, twin turbo V8, NA V8. You just can't beat them. So yeah, it's just super good delivery. We'll actually pop in the Sport Plus mode here. Oh yeah. Oops, I accidentally turned on the volume control there. It's one downside about having a million controls on the steering wheel and having slider buttons at that. Oh yeah, the power delivery is beautiful. And this has a pretty big fuel tank, decent sized fuel tank. So like, we're under, so 1/2, quarter, it's gonna be like 160. I'm just doing some math here. So this, with a full tank, probably has high 300s, maybe even 400 miles of range. So even though, I mean, the fuel economy is not that much less than the Lexus 2 is the thing, real world. I mean, this you're gonna get like 15 miles per gallon. The Lexus, I'm still breaking it in, but I'll probably end up getting like 17, you know? So the G-Wagon's a lot more expensive. Now, a big part of that expense is, it just comes down to, rather than equipment, you know, this is a status symbol at this point. It really is. It's got so much hype behind it, right? This is the vehicle you buy. Like, if you're rich and successful, you buy it, you know, it's a G-Wagon. You buy a G-Wagon. And the thing is, Toyota has the brand reputation that they could sell a vehicle at this price point. They just need to style it properly, and that's what holds back the see, the Land Cruiser I think is okay with that style, with that more crossover type styling, because it's a Land Cruiser. But the Lexus, I think it really holds it back, and I think if they made it a lot boxier, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think it would make it sell better personally. But let's go pop into the Lexus and see how it compares to this $200,000 G-Wagon. Well, let us set off in the LX. We'll actually flip around in the LX and then set off, I suppose. I will say right off the bat, both of these vehicles have acoustic glass. So they're both very insulated, but because this has a turbo V6 and not a turbo V8, it seems more insulated, but it's just, you don't have as much engine noise. You barely hear the thing, which, man, this is like a 50 point. And this is another downside about the LX. I can't remember the exact length of the G-Wagon, but I think it's like 190 something. This is 200 inches. So this is just a longer car, and you don't really get a benefit of extra space. It's longer because of the bumpers mostly. So yeah, maneuverability with it, not as good. And the view over the hood of the G-Wagon I really like, because you get kind of this nice unobstructed, you know, because everything sits low. Yeah, you get this nice unobstructed view. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, these seats are wider, they're more comfortable than the G-Wagon seats, so that's a benefit. They use a lot of synthetic materials in here. It feels high quality, but some people might like the real leather that's in the G-Wagon because it is leather, feels fancier. So I think that's going to be like a personal preference type deal. It's interesting, the G-Wagon solution for the center console was open up in the middle. This is open up double hinge. Kind of funny, the difference there. But when it comes to comfort, now I have my tires at pretty high PSI. That's just how I like to drive with my all-terrain tires. And I do have all-terrain tires with the street tires in the G-Wagon. That being said, the hydraulic suspension in this is a bit more comfortable than what's in the G-Wagon. This does feel like a slightly more luxe experience. Now the torque is great in this. It just doesn't have that immediate response that the G-Wagon has. It doesn't have the aggression that the G-Wagon has with the powertrain. So here's kind of my conclusion with these two. I think that this gives you a lot of what the G-Wagon offers at a much lower price point. You have the build quality. The reliability, well, I bought this to try to figure that out. But you have the build quality, you probably have the reliability. I mean, Land Cruisers in the past are known for reliability. We'll see if this one's better. Compared to the G550, this feels just as good power-wise as that new inline 6. So if you compare this to a G550, the power's there. It's 63. Yeah, this doesn't hold a candle to it. Man, I'm getting unlucky. The interior on this, it's nice. Like I said, everything feels like it's a Land Cruiser, so you're gonna have good build, and the off-road capability is there. So I think what this really shows us is that Mercedes could, in fact, give us a G-Wagon at a lower price. They don't have to, though, because it's got the Mercedes badge and it's a G-Wagon and everything. But you can offer something that is very close to the G-Wagon experience at a much lower price point. And so I think this actually could go one of two ways. Mercedes could give us a less expensive G-Wagon if they wanted to. Toyota could compete with Mercedes more so with the G-Wagon if they just styled the Lexus boxier and made it kind of look more like an old school off-roader. So, kind of interesting. Let me know which one you like more. I think this is obviously the better value, but I do think that, well, the G-Wagon's a G-Wagon. It's, with the powertrain it has and the looks it has, it's always going to be appealing to people, more appealing. Like, you go and tell a rich person, like, hey, you should buy the LX because it costs less money and the active height control is a better suspension system, and, you know, Toyota build quality, this, you tell them that and they're gonna be like, cool, G-Wagon looks better, you know? Let me know your thoughts.